if you can't tell, we're talking scary movies here on the MacGuffin podcast.
It's part of our October Spectacular.
And so what we're going to talk about now are scary movie moments. Now, these maybe aren't necessarily our favorite horror movies, but they are moments that stick with us as being particularly horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of the horror industry. I'm sure that's what everyone loves about, is being scared. Like,
oh, definitely.
That's what we watch these films for, and these are some of our favorite moments. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there are other ones that are great that we're going to miss, so don't just, like, get on your
Don't
high
click
horse.
it off as soon as Spencer says, you know, when she got pulled out of the bed, you know.
It might reappear, or I might talk about a Charlie Brown one. You don't know.
That's true.
It might be a twist coming up. So
I got really scared watching America's Sweethearts. Maybe that's on the list.
That was a pretty terrifying movie. I will give you that. So I guess I'll start.
Okay.
One film that affected me greatly, and this might be partly because I was a kid when I saw it, so that might have skewed my experience in watching it, but it was It. It's a creepy movie. Granted, the ending is one of my least favorite endings I've ever seen in a movie, but the film starts out with a lot of vigor. I mean, it starts out with a kid who loses his boat. It goes down into a sewer, and he sees a clown down there. I mean, kind of weird, but you know what? Not necessarily creepy. It gets pretty creepy when the kid's arm gets ripped off by the clown, like, and kills him. I mean,
oh, totally. I think that's, you know, it was caused a big fervor in like the early '90s when the book came out, and to me, it is still in my top 3 Stephen King books of all time. One of my favorite books ever. It's a creepy idea, just that image in your brain, and so when they visualized it in the movie, I thought they did a very good job until it fell apart with the crab spider thing.
Yeah, but like when it was manifested as the clown, it was immensely creepy.
Tim Curry's performance?
Yeah, Tim Curry.
So good.
Tim Curry was great. And it was interesting because, you know, people complain about clowns being scary and all that stuff. I generally don't.
They complain about it?
Yeah,
like, I hate you, clown!
Some people are afraid of clowns.
Oh, I thought you meant complain, like, oh, those clowns just think they're so scary.
But, like, I generally am completely oblivious to clowns. I don't really care one way or another.
Okay, if you woke up in the middle of the night and there was a clown about to pull you off your bed.
that one there, though, that was a freaking creepy clown, and I will always remember that. And that creeped me out as a kid. And the thing that I find most impressive is it's a TV movie.
That's true.
Like, to be scary in a TV movie, you have to make restrictions.
Oh, totally. They really have to rely on the suspense and the suggestive more so. Like, there's only a couple of freaky TV movies I can think of. It is up there. Dark Night of the Scarecrow. I mean, there's not much more besides that.
And I gotta give a shout out also to it. The scene where they're telling their stories of their experiences, and the girl talks about hearing the voices, the like ghost voices from the sink or whatever, and the blood shoots out. Wow, that was a scary moment. Shocked me.
Little Spencer was like,
Little Spencer was a little traumatized to go near the sink for a little while, I'll tell you that.
You became very unhygienic.
Yes,
you were the stinky kid in class for a while.
I sacrificed after seeing that. Yeah, it was a very unpleasant experience.
Well, one of my favorite horror movies, which also contains one of my favorite scary moments, is Joe Dante's The Howling, which is part of the werewolf explosion of 1981, where no less than 3 werewolf movies were released within that summer or fall season. And The Howling has this very interesting idea that people can turn into werewolves whenever they want. And that leads us to a scene where someone is being stalked by a werewolf through the woods in the middle of the day. And a lot of people think that daylight kills horror. I'm going to say, you know, watch the ending of Texas Chainsaw Massacre or watch the scene in The Howling. Daytime is just as scary as nighttime. I mean, the fact that they're brazenly, you know, this horrible stuff is happening in the daytime can make it scarier, I think.
I guess, like, daytime kind of is the enemy of supernatural horror, perhaps.
Yes, but that's what's so interesting about this movie is because the whole werewolf mythos is built on full moon at night, and so John Sayles' script was really interesting in that he switched that. Normally, I hate people changing mythos too much.
You're saying it's like the Twilight of werewolf movies.
But they're still killers. The werewolves don't sparkle. They look horrifying, you know. But so in this scene where a woman is being chased through the woods and she hides in a cabin only to realize it's the werewolf's cabin that she's ran into, it's really horrifying. And as I'm watching this movie for the first time, I am sitting in my house, in my room. My window's open. It's a summer night. cool air blowing in. I'm just sitting there watching, and then all of a sudden, my neighbor's giant dog jumps up against the window. And I'm instantly like, bah! Run out of the room, pause the movie, of course, run out of the room, get my dad. I'm like, Dad, the dog is attacking. What are we going to do? And he's like, tell it to go away? It's just the neighbor's dog.
It's a good thing you had the presence of mind to pause the movie.
I don't want to miss anything. I hadn't seen The Howling
Clearly,
before.
like, I'm going to die, but, not going to miss a frame of this movie first.
I had in my head that there was a few seconds for it to break through the screen, so...
It's a good one. Another one from my childhood was Child's Play.
Oh, totally.
Creepy when you're a kid. You have toys, this stuff happens.
And Chucky is creepy, to be fair.
The doll is creepy to begin with, but the scene where Catherine Hicks first realizes that it's alive. Like,
hi, I'm Chucky, wanna play?
Well,
with the head?
she has it on the table, and she goes over to the box, and it's like batteries included, and the batteries fall out of the box. And this is after having it talk to her and stuff, and she's looking at it. She walks over, she picks up, she opens
suspense.
the back, no batteries. Then the head comes around. Chucky, want to play? That was so creepy as a child. I remember, I've seen a lot of slasher films like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, all that kind of stuff. Super creepy, but Child's Play had sort of a relatability to me because, I had toys.
Yeah.
Like this.
You had talked to toys that might have been possessed by a killer.
I might have, I never know. I had toys that had batteries. These things are immense.
It made batteries scare you as much as being woken up in the middle of the night being pulled out of your bed.
Yeah, it did. It was really creepy as a kid to think that your toys could come to life and kill you.
I mean, luckily Toy Story kind of smoothed that over.
Yeah, it kind of worked that out for me in later years, and it kind of helped that Child's Play series kind of dropped off a cliff and became a completely comedic series, much like Nightmare on Elm Street.
But you're totally right about
first
Chucky.
one,
I had seen a TV spot for the second Child's Play movie, not even seen the movie. I just saw like the shot where Chucky's eye looks through the keyhole, and that horrified me for about 4 years.
Yeah. So that was a good one.
Another scene for me. This is a movie that I think it's not really very well remembered, and that might be just because it's just an okay movie, but it contains one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and that is 1993's Fire in the Sky, which is based on the real-life true story alien abduction. And I'm a big sucker for alien abductions,
we like
all that stuff.
Unsolved Mysteries on.
But this movie is about Travis Walton. He's a logger who his friends see him get abducted, and he's then gone for 5 days. So at the beginning of the movie, they see a big UFO, a beam hits him, they drive off, and then he's gone. And the rest of the movie really focuses on a trial that's happening in the town. The town people are accusing his friends, the loggers, of killing him, hiding the body, or maybe it's all a big hoax. He's hiding in the woods somewhere, is going to make a ton of money from it, selling it to National Enquirer, stuff like that. Then the character comes back, and he has a flashback to his experience, and it is one of the scariest 20-minute blocks I've ever seen in a movie. Just the way that they imagine the UFOs, unlike anything I've ever seen, as opposed to, the sterile, cold environment of something like the X-Files or the Communion, stuff like that. It is really organic. It's kind of like a beehive, and he pulls himself like out of this cocoon thing, and the aliens don't even look like the typical grays with the big eyes and the gray skin. They have little beady eyes, long necks. They're flesh colored, and they're just so creepy. They put him through, an abduction, procedure, and it's horrifying. I just think people need to watch that movie just for that scene. Plus, you're going to find great performances by like D.B. Sweeney, Robert Patrick. So an okay movie with a great horror scene.
Good one. Another one, I'm the first to admit that I'm pretty desensitized to a lot of stuff. Like, it takes quite a bit to scare me these days. So a long period between like my childhood with things like Child's Play to like when I was a senior in high school, let's say, and the release of the Blair Witch Project came out. And I got to see the Blair Witch Project before they were on MTV.
Before the hype and everything?
Before it really was a widely known thing that it was fake, all that stuff. It still had that sort of in between, is it real, is it fake kind of debate going on.
So you're one of those guys that like, wrestling is real, but to Blair Witch.
No. But the thing that there are two scenes in it. The first one is where they're all in the tent and they hear the noises, and then they come up and shake the tent.
Okay.
And the thing that is brilliant about the Blair Witch Project is the filmmakers knew what was going to happen. Each individual knew what their character was going to do generally, but they didn't know everything else that was going on.
Oh, totally. The actors were not informed that the tent would be shaking and stuff like that.
So when the tent's shaken, the characters are really scared.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know what the hell is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it legitimately is scary because you don't expect it to come, and then their fear really amps it up. And the chaos,
true, yeah.
and the chaos of the moment when they're running with like the camera, and you don't know what's going on, and you don't know where each of them is. You only get sort of that perspective of the two cameras because they only had the two cameras. I mean, they had 3 characters, 2 cameras. Obviously, one character, no matter what, is not going to be able to be seen. So that was creepy. And then the end sequence.
Yeah, I think even the detractors of Blair Witch Project, such as myself, the ending is the best part of the movie. I think so.
Oh,
creepy.
I agree. I mean, there are a lot of things to critique and criticize about Blair Witch, but the ending is so creepy and interesting. When they get to the house, when she gets, is it the girl at the end? It's the girl. Okay, she gets to the house, and they're the small child's handprints on the walls in blood. Like, that's creepy. You know, I like that they worked in the mythos of the Blair Witch when she sees the guy in the basement.
Yeah, staring at the wall. Yeah.
And you know,
at this point, if you don't know the ending of Blair Witch, you know,
no, you're not gonna be scared. But I mean, yeah, I found it so creepy, and the point at which it, like, the creature, the Blair Witch, comes in and attacks and all that stuff. Like,
but it's also so creepy because you see nothing.
Right, you see nothing, and the build up. It's not like an instant thing. There's like a couple minutes of build up as she's going through this house, and you're just like, when is it happening? When is it happening? She's gonna get it. She's gonna get it, and then boom.
And it's actually pretty cool. The filmmakers resisted the urge to have the final image be some kind of monster, like bah! Like unfortunately they did at the end of Paranormal Activity, the one small sore spot in that movie.
And then they kind of let things go off the rail with Blair Witch 2, but
but that first one had some very creepy moments, especially the ending.
Yeah.
So another scary moment for me, this is a movie that maybe you wouldn't think is too freaky, although when I was a kid, a lot of people were scared by it. Ernest Scared Stupid. This is the immortal Ernest movie where...
Vern always scared me, personally. But...
where Jim Varney was fighting off a troll, and the troll would turn kids into little wooden dolls. And it had a big gross nose, and it was always dripping goo. Well, anyway, there is a scene where the girl in the movie, because it's always a group of guys, and they have one friend who's a girl, just one of the guys. She is in her house, and she's kind of freaked out. So she's laying in bed. She hears something under the bed. So she looks under the bed. It's all building up, like, oh, she's going to pull it up, and there's the troll. And she pulls it up. Oh, it's her doll. Stupid girl. You know, she picks up her doll. She goes lay back down into bed, and the troll's right next to her.
That's good.
Okay, not only does that happen, as I'm watching it, okay, I'm laying on the floor, I'm like this, you know, staring up at the TV, and I'm at a friend's house, and his mom, unbeknownst to me, is walking up behind me very slowly, and right when she leans back up and the troll's there, she goes, "Whoa!" and just grabs me, and I freaked out, and I ran out of the house. I opened up the door and I booked it.
That's good. Sounds like a wonderful lady.
Yeah.
Scaring the crap out of a child.
One of my favorites.
Good job raising some children there, lady. I feel bad for your kids. Yeah, that's a good moment. Another one for me, when I was more adult in age, that scared me was The Ring. The Ring, again, another film that has a lot of criticism of it.
Yeah.
But the end of The Ring is very well executed and very creepy. The thing that makes the end of The Ring partly so creepy is that you think it's resolved. Like, she's saved the day, she's found the body, you know, it's like everything's good, everything's kosher, you know, end music, let's roll credits, end of story. No. It keeps going.
No, someone's going to come out of the TV.
It keeps going, yeah. Then cut to the apartment of her ex-husband, ex-lover, whatever he is. Martin Henderson, whatever ex-relationship person designate, whatever. He's just moving about, you know, doing his photography thing. TV clicks on, starts to watch it, you know, what's going on, watching the video. Girl comes out of the TV, and it's well done.
It's an amazing effect, and I think, once again, like Blair Witch, I'm not the biggest fan of The Ring, the ending is so good. Like, there's a reason everyone talks about the ending.
Yeah, and I mean, the original is well done as well, but not to the same level.
Yeah, Ringu.
Is not to the same level as the American remake. The American remake, just spot on. I mean, they had you lulled into a false sense of security, and then they hit you with the creepiest moment of the movie. I think it's amazing.
Very true.
And scary.
Another great ending for me up until a final moment that I briefly mentioned before is the ending of Paranormal Activity. I know a lot of people had some problems with the ending because it was filmed later. They thought the original endings that the director had gone with
there
weren't
are a
as
couple
strong.
ones.
So the original ending of the movie was that, Katie had killed Micah downstairs. You didn't see it. And then she comes upstairs and just kind of sits up there for a few days. Cops show up and kill her. I thought that was really anticlimactic.
Wasn't there one where she commits suicide?
Yeah, and then there's another one where they go downstairs, he screams, she walks up by herself, just walks up to the camera, slits her throat, and dies. That one I liked better than the cop one, but still, it didn't have the punch that the movie needed. Yeah. Nothing about it was particularly scary, except for Micah running downstairs and screaming. So I really liked the ending, which Steven Spielberg famously suggested. I thought it was the most suspenseful part of a very suspenseful theatrical experience. Like, I'm sitting there watching, he runs downstairs, and the camera is just stationary in the blank room for a good while before he screams. So I'm sitting there like, oh man, what's gonna happen? He screams, I'm like, oh crap. Then you start to hear the footsteps. And the shot is set up so perfectly. So on the left side of the screen, you got the doorway. Down on the bottom right, you have the timer, because it's a camera. I was so freaked out. I was like, I'm looking at the timer. I'm not looking at the door because something's gonna scare me. And then he gets thrown, and I'm like,
No, it's very well executed because there's a sense of urgency because you hear the thump, and then he instantly bolts downstairs, and then it's basically like nothing. You see nothing for like a minute.
Yeah.
And you just hear noises, and they're creepy noises, and you just are wondering what is going to come out. Something has to happen. They're not going to just cut to black with like an empty doorway or whatever. Something is coming. You're going to finally see something. And it pays off. Though you got to give a shout out to that yanked out of the bed scene too, because that was.
I've heard that some people found that scary.
Yeah, some people did find that scary. That one was a really scary one.
No,
too.
I would definitely give it up for the yanked out of the bed scene. Even the footsteps running up to the door and it getting slammed shut. There are so many scary moments in that movie. Yep. But for me, the ending was the pinnacle of it.
Oh, totally.
Unfortunately, I thought they ruined it with the CGI face.
I will say the one thing that is also good about the yanked out of the bed scene is you can see her go into the closet. Like you see her get dragged away.
One of the greatest things about Paranormal Activity are the effects. Like to me, Paranormal Activity is right up there with something like Lord of the Rings for the best special effects I've ever seen. Because I have no idea how they pulled her out of the bed. You can't see anything. Even in the Region 2 DVD with the director commentary, he doesn't tell you how they did the tricks. He said that would ruin the movie.
I mean, like you see it, and then he follows her into like the closet and stuff. You're watching it continue on. It's just like she gets yanked out of the bed and wraps around the corner. Like you follow him as he's trying to like yank her down and stuff like that. So it's creepy. So that's a good one.
Oh, definitely.
Another one that I'm sure we can mutually agree on is The Thing.
Oh,
the
definitely.
blood test scene in The Thing.
So scary.
Where they're trying to figure out, they finally get a blood test to figure out who the thing is.
Exactly. They find out that the cells of the thing are all independent of each other, and they will try to save themselves. So if they take someone's blood, who is the thing, and they put fire to it, it will try to get away from the fire. So you have this suspenseful scene where everyone's tied up, and Kurt Russell is holding, a hot wire or a wire to a flamethrower, and then he's putting it in some blood. And as he's putting it in people's blood, he unties them, and they're helping him out. And you're just wondering, when's the blood gonna come?
Yeah.
Like what's gonna even happen? And when it finally does, like it is so shocking. And John Carpenter does this amazing thing where, for the effect to happen, they had to have a fake Kurt Russell hand holding a petri dish for the monster to cut out. So what he did is, it's not the person that is the thing where he uses the fake hand the first time. He uses it the person before.
Yeah.
So he establishes that there's this fake looking hand. So somebody might see him and be like, oh, it's coming. And then nothing happens.
Yeah.
So then they're lulled down again
smart.
for when the effect does happen.
And that's part of the best ones, the scares. Like much like The Ring, you get a false sense of security and then boom.
Yeah, so even if you do notice that, I mean, and we both had The Thing in our top 5 horror movies of all time. We're giant fans of the movie overall.
And we also got to give a shout out to the autopsy scene where what seems like a normal head quickly becomes something else.
Yeah, well, that whole scene is horrifying. Even before that, because there's a guy who looks like he's going into cardiac arrest, and you've seen him like hold his chest earlier in the movie, like, oh man, something's wrong with this guy. But you think like, oh, he's sick, he's gonna die.
Oh, yeah, and
then
like
they
a
go
heart
to
attack or
yeah,
something.
they go to give him the defibrillator, and his stomach opens up into a giant mouth that bites Blair's arms off, and that's horrifying. And if that isn't horrifying enough, they then light it on fire. His head falls away and sprouts legs and starts walking. But the great thing about that scene is they cap it with awesome comedy, where kind of the really stoned out radio operator character is looking at it, or maybe he was a pilot, looks at it and he's like, oh, you've got to be kidding.
Yeah.
And that is just, it's such a great scene.
No, it's a great movie. Definitely our top 5. I got to give a shout out to The Shining.
Definitely a lot of creepy moments.
There are a couple of scenes in there, specifically when Danny riding through the hallways and runs into the little girls.
When anyone thinks of The Shining, I don't know. They're either thinking Jack Nicholson's face, or if they're just thinking what they're feeling, the anxiety they get from it, they think of those girls. That is one of the creepiest things ever.
The girls and the elevator of blood. Those two things together were so creepy, and it's amazing to think that, you know, the kid, they filmed it so that the kid wouldn't have to see any of this stuff and be like tormented.
Well, that's what's so interesting about the girls, is that it's really such a simple thing. It's just two girls. They look like normal girls in a hallway. But just by even doing that, the way they speak, the way it's shot, like Kubrick didn't have to cover them in blood or make them all gnarly or anything. You know, all they had to be was creepy British girls. You know?
And so there's that, and then when Jack goes into room 237,
and he sees the hag in the bathtub.
Well, he sees her initially as like an attractive young woman, and then she comes up to him, and suddenly she's this old, gross woman.
Well, that's also this thing where he's making out with her when she realizes that, when he sees in the mirror that she's all gross. So not only is it like, oh my god, it's like, stop touching her.
Yeah, so it's a creepy moment. I gotta give it up for those two scenes. Not any of the other more flashy scenes, but those two specifically.
Very creepy. For me, I think the last one I had on my list that really affected me is the opening of a movie called Tourist Trap, which is, I think, a really underrated horror movie from '79. And in the opening, these group of teenagers, early 20s kids, their car breaks down, and one of them walks off to get help. You know, we've seen this before. He finds a house. Oh, you know, we've seen that, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, any number of movies. When he walks into the house, he's calling out, hey, is anyone here? There's no one there. He walks into a room, and all of a sudden, creepy shit starts happening. The door slams shut. He can't get it open. He's like, hello? What's going on? The closet door busts open, and there's a mannequin in there that starts laughing.
That's creepy.
And then all of a sudden, things start flying at him, like this telekinetic fury just starts, nails are being thrown at him. Suddenly, a big lead pipe comes at him, and he's trying to escape. So he breaks through the door, and he gets his arm through, but somebody on the other side is like holding him in place, so he can't grab at that door. So he's sitting here stuck, horrified. There's crazy shit going on. And this lead pipe flies right into him and impales him. And instantly in that moment, all of the sound cuts out. He's screaming for his life, and you don't hear anything except for like his blood dripping out of the pipe.
It's well done.
And it is one of the best opening scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And it sets you up for a movie where you're like, what else is going to happen? If that is the opening, anything can happen in this movie.
Very cool.
Yep.
So those are some of our favorite scary scenes.
Yeah, let us know what you think. You know, were you scared by our same scary moments? Anything else that jumped out to you? Maybe it was something like Ernest Scared Stupid. You know, you have a good story, you can leave in the comments section. Give us a tweet. Let us know on Facebook. Any number of things. MacGuffinPodcast.com for all that.
All sorts of good stuff going on there, and we want to hear from you.
T-1000 can't stop me. I'm on fire tonight. Magneto can't stop me. I'm on fire tonight. Even Zod can't stop me. I'm on fire tonight. It's tight, don't even try to bite the side of style. Mr. Spock can't stop me. I'm on fire tonight. The Wrath of Khan can't stop me. I'm on fire tonight. The Borg can't stop me. I'm on fire tonight. Because I've got space game and it feels alright.